So, hey guys, welcome back to the season one and episode three of Life at Work. Today, I have with me Ujjwal Goyal. So, Ujjwal, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, Devagya. How are you? How have you been?
Great, great. So, Ujjwal, tell us something about yourself. Like, what's your background and which role are you currently working in?
So I completed my engineering last year in 2024, and I'm a computer science engineering pass out. Since then, for like almost 1.5 years, I've been working with this company where I've been working as a management trainee. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Okay, so currently based out of Gurgaon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this company is a tech company you're working for. So, um, can you explain to people in a layman's term what work do you do?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm a management trainee. So I'm working for a streaming platform. Like you might be aware of influencer marketing in general. So as far as my role is concerned, it's basically helping creators who come from that influencer marketing background, collaborating with various agencies so that the creators can better monetize and scale their content, and also helping brands, which could be fashion, beauty, tech brands, in helping reaching larger audiences.
Okay, so um, is there any technical knowledge required, or is it more about communication and management you require in this role?
See, I believe communication is important for any role that you get into. Like, since I come from an engineering background, I also believe that even if you're a developer, communication comes in handy. But as far as my role is concerned, of course, communication is important. Like you said, tech, I wouldn't call development in this role, but it's better to have a basic understanding of SQL, databases, and data in general. Like primarily, if you talk about being an analyst, so having those analyst skills help when you get in a role like this.
So you mentioned about how you're helping the influencer marketer as a mediating party between. So do you need to have some understanding of marketing as well in this current role?
To begin with, like I said, I do not come from a marketing background. I come from a engineering background. So of course, we were trained for the first 3 months, where I would say that we did have like limited understanding of how the marketing funnel works. Of course, having a bachelor's degree in marketing again does help, but I would say this is something which you can develop over time as well, and that is true of any skill. I've seen people who've come from core bachelor's in psychology kind of a background, and they've done well in engineering analyst kind of roles as well. So I believe in today's time, it's more about developing skills and not so much about the degree that you have. And I guess similar thing worked out for me as well.
So can you tell us some of the skills that you use are that are helpful for you in your day-to-day working?
Yeah. So, like I already have mentioned, communication. And communication, when I say it's not just about having a decent command over the language. Of course, again that helps. But communication is more about articulating what you're feeling, your thoughts better, and having that emotional intelligence as well towards your fellow employees. Apart from that, technical skills, like I said, are not very much needed. There are some internal tools that you can develop skills in while you're working with the company, but having understanding of Excel, SQL, a bit of Python, a bit of R programming, a bit of development also helps because again, like I have to work with the product team as well. So when you are working with the product team, just having a very basic or layman understanding of how the product works or how is it that the product is going to the market is also very important and beneficial as to again when you're communicating with the product managers or higher authorities in your company.
Okay, so we also have a video on product management in our link, so you can check that out. So, Ujjwal, can you also frame out a basic difference between a project and a product manager?
So, like to begin with, when I was doing my engineering, even today, I would say that I want to get into a product role. Because, of course, when I talk about a product role, it's more about understanding as to how a product is made, how a product goes to the market, the why and what of a product. As far as project management or management in general is concerned, it's about delivering the executives and, just making sure that the project scope is well defined, the deliverables are getting executed on time. So that is a broad understanding between being a project manager and a product manager. Of course, there are a lot of skills that overlap. But then again, a product manager and project manager have completely different responsibilities as well, which I believe again overlaps, but then there is a distinct difference.
So, what made you think that a product management field would be a great fit for you as of now? How do you evaluate?
Yeah. So again, since I come from an engineering background, I do understand that being a product manager does not really let you get into development, but you are around engineers, you are working with engineers. Another role that I would say that people can consider, which sort of lets you be around the tech of things, is being a technical program manager as well, which again is somewhat related to product management. Again, you are not developing, but you need to have a certain amount of basic knowledge as to how development happens, as to how a code is being pushed forward, and what APIs are. So that level of broad understanding is very important for a product manager and a technical program manager. So that was my sort of reason as to why I want to get into this particular field.
Okay, so falling back to the first question, um, what your day-to-day workings are. So I wanted to ask, can you bring up any such scenario or example where you can explain your day from the morning till evening, what you did
So like, is it from a work perspective or in general
from
as
a
to?
from a work perspective as well as how you felt throughout.
Okay, so like to begin with, of course, my day starts early by 8. I reach office. So like normally, I guess mornings are pretty slow for me, and my work starts catching up once it's 11, 12 in the afternoon. So of course, like I said, I do collaborate with a lot of influencer marketing agencies. There is a lot of back and forth as to what kind of creators do they need for a particular brand, or what kind of audiences are they targeting. Initially, I had the understanding that, let's say, if a creator's video goes viral over Instagram or YouTube, for instance, that is simply happening because of their luck or other factors which are not in our hands. But there's a lot of math which goes behind it. There's a lot of to and fro that happens with the agencies. And yeah, so in the afternoon, my work catches up. Then primarily by evenings, it's pretty settled down, where again, I'm talking with the brands as to what kind of audiences or demographic type of audience they're trying to reach out to. And I would say that by 6, 7 in the afternoon, I sum up my day. My team primarily sits in the Singapore office, so that's not much of an hassle. And yeah, that's pretty much about as to how my day looks.
So you don't have to work on US timings. Basically, Singapore team you might have to coordinate with, so you match your timings accordingly in India.
Yeah. Of course, there are days when I have to work with the US team as well, but primarily since my team sits out of the Singapore office, it's very, I would say, negligible that I have to coordinate with the US team.
Okay, so how in the like there might be times when you have to be on your toes and give your all to the team. So are there stressful times which you have faced till now?
Yeah, definitely. I guess for any job, there will be stressful times. And there are days when I feel like, I'm not doing justice to whatever work I've been assigned. But the only motivation I have on such days is that these days will also pass. And of course, it's very difficult to manage work with your personal life as well. But then I also believe that at the end of the day, there is a reason why I took up this job. There is a reason why I'm trying to work hard. So keeping all of this at the back of your head does help. Of course, remembering your family and friends also help, communicating with them. And I would say that one thing which has sort of worked in my advantage is the fact that I've got a great team. My manager is very supportive, so he does understand that there are a few days when I'm not being able to give my fullest. So he does come up to me and tries to have that conversation with me. That helps as well. Of course, talking to your office colleagues is also very important sometimes. Again, I would not recommend you to be friends with them, but then it's important for you to have that bond where you can sort of collaborate with them when days get stressful.
Okay, so well, it's true. A dream can make your day or break your day, let's say. So, have you been juggling between multiple projects at once or multiple creators at once, or does it involve multiple tasking in your day to day, or you are working with single person? How is it?
Yeah, it does. Like I said, I have to collaborate with a lot of marketing agencies and brands. And also, one thing with the brands is that they might get very cynical as to what kind of creator they want, right? So it's very difficult. Like it's very important to get the script right. Whenever, let's say, a creator starts shooting for a particular brand or for a particular piece of content, we have to make sure that the script is there with the creator, and the creator is sort of agreeing to the script as well. And like if I had to give you an example of times when things get difficult and I have to multitask as well, is that a few times brands are very cynical about, let's say, a fashion or beauty brand comes up to us. So they're very cynical about as to how the creator should look, which is somewhat objectifying the creator. But at the same time, you have to make sure that the work environment is not such where the creator thinks that they are working with a toxic brand. So such instances also come up where we have to sort of multitask. We have to make sure that the agency and the creator are on the same page along with the brand. So yeah, that's pretty much about it.
So the content which they create, like the brands, suppose my understanding as of now for your role would be you are a mediator for your platform, streaming platform, and you're helping influencers in brand connect in order to make an advertisement or promote their sales and business. So v- your role is coordinating between brand and the influencer. That is one part of the job, right?
Yeah, yeah, completely.
And are there any few other parts like what else would be there? So I'm sure since there are a lot of collaboration, there would be disputes. So do you handle the disputes as well?
Yeah, we have to handle the disputes as well. Like you rightly mentioned, that we have to collaborate with the brands and the influencers. But another part to this would be the influencer marketing agencies. And sometimes these agencies can be very difficult to deal with, right? Because they have their own sort of opinion, they have their own stand as to what kind of creators do they want to give to the brand. So it's not completely dependent on us as to what kind of creators we are pitching to the brand. It's rather the influencer marketing agencies also coming in between and advising us as a platform, and also the brand that this is your requirement, which is something that the brands do not naturally agree with, because like the understanding of the brand of itself is very different from the understanding that an influencer marketing agency might have of that brand.
Plus,
So
you might have a different alignment of the brand and the influencer, and agency might think differently.
yeah, completely. And also we do have these events where we try and increase awareness among the creators and the agencies so that they can better understand our product, our streaming platform.
So, do you have any clue about the revenue model which you are using and how are you making money out of this?
Out of the influencer marketing thing.
Yeah, the mediation service you're providing, how do you make money?
So the money, of course, when a creator goes live on a platform, there is a 45% divide where our platform is keeping 55% of the revenue that the creator is generating, and 45%, of course, goes to the creator as well. Along with that, we do have to provide money to the agency as well, because at the end of the day, it's the agency that is sort of providing us with the creators. And through us, the creators are going to the brands. So we, of course, are getting money through our streaming platform itself and not otherwise, right? Because we have to provide money to the other people who are sort of attached to this, for example the agencies. And the brands, then once of course their content does well and they're able to sort of scale their content, also pays our platform, but that is only after the content goes live.
Okay. So, if I talk about the skills or like and the subjects you might have studied during your bachelor's degree, so any particular subject or topic you find helpful in your job role today?
Like I said, I come from a tech background. I do not think that having an engineer's degree might be very helpful in such a profile. But right from the second or third year of college, I had this inclination that, code development is something which I'm not very passionate about. Of course, there are a lot of skills which are transferable, like communication could be one of them. I also had SQL as a part of my curriculum, which does help me. But apart from that, I do believe that most of the things that I've learned are on the job training and not so much from my degree. Of course, there were times when I would say that, problem solving in general or handling pressure is something which my engineering degree might have taught me. But as far as core skills are concerned, I highly doubt that my degree contributes to what kind of work I'm doing right now.
Okay, great. As long as you're happy what you're doing, it's fine, I
Yeah,
think.
like I'm still trying to figure out life, but then yeah.
Yeah, that goes on for everyone, I believe. So everyone is trying to figure out what they want to
One
do
thing
next.
which maybe I would want to highlight is that you never have clarity as to what you want in life. Your goals and your plans, they keep on changing after every few years. So I guess one of the most important skills is for you to be adaptable rather than, develop a core skill or, just fixate your mind on a particular role.
That's true. So moving on, is there any misconception you thought like you had when you were in college you about this opportunity coming your way? And okay, while reading the job description, you thought ki, I would have to do this, but now you're doing completely different things. Was there something like that?
I do believe that happened to a certain extent. Also, in general, I believe that the job descriptions today they're very vague. Because I remember that when I had applied for this job, problem solving was one of the requirements that I was supposed to have. But nowhere was it mentioned like what kind of problem solving are they looking for. So I would say there is a kind of a mismatch. Also, they needed a few years of work ex, but I was a complete fresher. But even then, I got in. So that I would say was some kind of a misconception as to I thought that people who are supposed to be getting into this role have to have a lot of work experience or they should have had prior experience in the past. But that was not very much necessary when I got into this role. Not trying to demean the role, of course, it's a very very taxing and tough role as well. But at the same time, I do believe that all of the things that I'm doing right now could be learned, in a few months. Like the 3 months training which I had initially was very much helpful for me to develop those skills. And yeah, I just want to just highlight this that the job descriptions can be very very brutal and vague as well. Sometimes people do mention that they require a lot of work experience, but I think it's way more important to just go out there and apply and let the recruiter do their part instead of simply eliminating yourself out on the very first day.
Okay. Any other misconception that you think people might have for this role?
One more misconception which I do believe people might have is having an MBA. Of course, I would also want to do an MBA, but I also believe that simply starting your career and getting into a management training kind of a role or product management or project management as well does not require for you to have an MBA. Having that business acumen helps, but then there are other ways to develop that business acumen. MBA, I would say that is required, but only after you've gained a certain amount of work experience. So one thing which when initially had joined this company, of course, people around me, all of my managers have done MBAs from good reputed colleges, and that made me think that it's very important for me also to do an MBA, which I still consider. But at the same time, once I spoke to them, I sort of realized that in today's time, still I believe it's better to do an MBA, but not right.
Okay. So first develop a basic understanding of the work role and which field you want to go in, then plan for an MBA would be
Yeah,
a
definitely.
yeah. Okay, so if I'm in college today and I look up to some project management roles, what kind of trainings should I do? Any trainings or they are taught on job? What should a student do at that point?
See, it completely depends on the company that you're working for. Most of the companies do provide you with some kind of training initially for the first few months. But as far as I would say, there are a lot of certifications available online. Simply adding them does not make any sense. But just to get a very vague and broad understanding as to what a project manager does or as to what you can expect out of a particular role, it's very important to do these certifications. Again, I would say not a particular certification helps. Just explore, just go out there. Google is there, just make sure that you're doing different kind of certifications. If it doesn't help you out, maybe leave it midway if you think that this is not adding any value to your resume or in general you're not understanding about the role. Leave it midway. There's no hard and fast rule to complete a certification that you might have started and apply. There's no better way to understand about a role than being a part of that role itself. So apply, I wouldn't say apply randomly, but let's say you're fixated on getting a project manager role, so make sure that you are applying for any project manager role that comes up. Do not limit yourself to a particular company. Do not think that this is a company that is not meant for me or may not be a particular fit. If nothing, you'll get that job experience, like interview experience, which helps you prepare for other interviews in general. So if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't speak to the right people, it won't help even if you've done multiple certifications. Of course, LinkedIn can come in very handy. I myself reached out to a lot of people, not just for asking for referrals, just try to understand about their role and also trying to understand as to how they ended up getting that particular role. It helps, of course. Maybe you'll end up texting 100 people, not a lot of them will reply, but trust me, if you increase the sample size and you try reaching out to as many people as possible, a few of them will be helpful, and more often than not you will receive the piece of advice that is needed for you.
And if this video helps you figure out what is project management, do let us know in the comment section and give us any feedback if you have. So moving on to the next question. Uh, how did you handle pressure when suppose you traveled for an event somewhere and something went wrong? So how does that work out? Do you have a team to connect with and tell multiple people that this thing is going on and we need to handle this, or you have to take the responsibility? How does it work?
See, like you mentioned earlier as well, having a good team is important. And, of course, there are various techniques to handle pressure, but when there is pressure, none of this helps. I still remember back in the day when I had to give my 10th board and 12th board exams as well. There was a lot of pressure, which I believe I was able to handle, but then there were days when I used to simply give up and break down. So there's no hard and fast rule as to how you can handle pressure. It comes with time, it comes with wisdom. Once you've been in a particular situation a few times, you're better able to handle it. But having good people around you definitely helps. Again, it could be your team, it could be your friends and family as well. Just speaking to them, because there will be days when even if you're the most calmest person in the room, you might not be able to handle pressure. So these are the days when people around you who at that particular point in time are calmer than you might, able to lead that path for you.
So since there is a lot of collaboration with agencies, with brands, so what's your take on the AI influence that is booming right now?
Regarding AI influence, I spoke to my manager as well a few days back about as to how this role that I'm currently in will look like in, the next 5 years. And he did make a mention of that, there is a possibility that such a role might not even exist in the future. Of course, I'm not trying to scare people, but what I know is that again, like I mentioned before as well, being adaptable is very important. So you have to make sure that how you can sort of integrate AI into your role. It could be any role. And for a role like this, of course, human intervention is very important because of course you are collaborating, you are speaking to people. I mentioned earlier as well, empathy, emotional intelligence, all of these are skills which AI might not be able to develop. Of course, there are various models that are coming up with such skills as well, but I do believe that trying to integrate AI into your work is way more essential than completely thinking that AI might oust you of your work. So the world of course is completely evolving and you have to change with times. That is the reason why I believe upskilling is equally important. Like for example, there are various roles like AI product managers as well, at Google, Microsoft, at various other companies, which somehow have integrated AI into product manager roles as well. So this is how people are evolving, people are adapting to change, and this is what anybody who's starting their career should also sort of focus on.
So I think it's true to some extent, but if you're working in some field, you will have a better understanding how to develop a model for AI in that particular field, right? So what does the requirements for the AI and how would the model work? So who better than a project manager itself to train the AI on that, right?
I completely
So
agree with you.
yeah,
For example, if I had to talk about my role as well, like for example, when a brand comes up to us for creators, so there are internal tools, which have AI integrated into them, where the creator shortlisting becomes a lot more easier. And I remember back in the day, a few years before this, the creator shortlisting had to be done, manually. There was a lot of data scrubbing which had to be done manually. Of course, AI in that regard has made lives easier. But then again, taking the creators to the brand is still being done by a human. Because of course, even if you come up with the best of creators, they might not align with what the brand is looking for. And AI can of course provide you with the best of creators, but then the creators being accepted by the brand is completely dependent on the brand. Where of course a lot of negotiation, human intervention, pitching, back and forth happens, which I do believe as of now is important for a human to do.
yeah, that is true. So going back to the tool which you developed for the shortlisting of creators, so it must have been created by some of your team member only, right? Which had understanding of the workflow, correct?
Yeah, completely. Of course, it has been some time for like that tool has been developed. It's an internal tool,
Yeah.
but even that tool in itself is evolving. Every now and then there are a few changes that are coming up in that tool. So yeah, like even that tool in itself is being adaptable to the changing circumstances.
Okay. So the most important question for the day would be salary discuss कर लेते हैं. So I'll give you a range for
Yeah,
the salary, and if it's in the range, you say true, or if it's false, you say higher and lower.
yeah,
So
fair.
I'm telling you the salary for a project manager as per external sources. So it can range around between 12 to 14 lakhs.
I would say that is true. Of
Okay.
course, some positions might pay you higher depending on the amount of work experience you have. But as a fresher, I guess This is somewhat true. Of course, doing an MBA also sort of hikes that salary. You might get certain amount of hike, but more or less for a fresher coming right out of bachelor's, this is the adequate amount of money.
I would say this. I mentioned all in all my videos that salary it's a very subjective term for everyone from which background you're coming and how much work experience or are you a fresher, which university or college
Yeah.
did you graduate from. So these factors come in a lot, and uh, how well you're able to demonstrate your skills during the interview process as well.
All of these factors play a major role to how your salary is decided.
Yeah. So that was it from my end for today. And if you have any questions, do mention them in the comments. We'll try to help you out in any way possible. And thank you, Ujjwal, for taking out time for today's session. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Devagya, for having